And it's a very good afternoon, or good morning to the Gelding. I don't know what I'm talking about good afternoon. Gelding, so racing Cox Plate Day at Moonee Valley, and very excited because we started off fairly well yesterday or last night, but couldn't finish it off.
Yes, good morning, Professor, and good morning to our listeners. 50% win rate yesterday, Professor, 50% place rate. On fire, and then our last two tips were very disappointing. And as we said off air, perhaps we should have swapped, because just for the listeners, Professor, you like Jonker in the main race, where I went Saba Boxall, and Jonker got up and win. You like Just Jake, and I like the Gouch, and the Gouch ran second. So what could have been, Professor?
There was a possibility of 3 wins and a place, but listen, 50% is good form. Let's take that into today. Racing again at Moonee Valley, a 10-race program, the first at 12:15. Group racing returns to Moonee Valley Gelding, 2 Group 3s, 4 Group 2s, and the feature race, the Group 1 Cox Plate. Now, I see it's noted as the Cox Plate Gelding. In the racing books, it always used to be the WS Cox Plate.
Yes.
William Samuel.
Now dropped for Ladbrokes.
Yes, yes. I still think the WS Cox Plate sounds better.
I didn't know he was AKA Ladbrokes. Well, that was his nickname. So
he was the pioneer of thoroughbred racing in Australia. Gelding and formed the Moonee Valley Racing Club in 1883.
Yes.
Not a bad effort.
Great effort, and well rewarded, what can be regarded possibly as Australia's best race, Professor. Look, we're a bit of traditionalists. Does the Cox Plate need sponsorship? Well, does the Melbourne Cup need sponsorship?
Only if they're going to offer the high purses, Gelding, I would imagine they do.
Well, yeah, I think, yeah. Anyway, we won't get onto that. That's what's happening. It's a Ladbrokes Cox Plate these days. I wonder what it'll be in 3 years' time, Professor.
But the only thing we can guarantee, Gelding, is that the name will be changed, except for the Cox Plate.
Exactly. Should we sponsor it, and should it be GM Racing's Cox Plate?
No, let's stay out of that, Gelding. We'll keep our money in our pocket, I think.
Okay, Professor.
All right, the rail's in the true position, Gelding. The track's currently a soft 5. Give us the Caulfield South weather report.
Drizzling here, rained heavily overnight. I'm very worried about the state of the track, Professor. I would have thought soft 5's been a bit optimistic, isn't it?
Well, especially as it
absolutely pelted down here. So, look, rain's predicted during the day. I think it'll cut up. Now, sometimes with rain in the true, it can help horses that are on the fence, but I think later in the day it might be a bit better to be out a bit wider, so which may suit our tips in the Cox Plate. Now that the sensational news that Zaki has been scratched due to an elevated temperature, and Gold Trip also scratched, Professor, and that went a little bit under the radar. Stewards scratching Gold Trip, thinking it was lame. Very rarely do you hear Damien Oliver pot the stewards, but as he said, the horse didn't feel lame to him, and he was the one riding it in track work, and they never bothered asking him.
I'll never. Hey, Gelding, there's one thing we know: never question the stewards, because no good will come of it.
Well, that's right, and
or worse still, nothing will come of it.
Well, we certainly won't get any answers from them.
No.
There's this, just an overreaction for this policy because a couple of overseas horses have passed away and broken down. on the harder tracks. But
perhaps a bit of caution being shown, Gelding.
Well, sometimes yes, maybe a lot of caution, Professor.
A lot of
sometimes the reaction can be over, can't it?
An overreaction.
Yes.
All right,
yeah.
Gelding.
Did it need adjusting? Yes. Did it need adjusting that far? Question for other people, I suppose.
All right, Gelding, what are your 2 red hot tips for Cox Plate Day?
Well, we've got to go Cox Plate, Professor. I was, taking on the advice of the Sydney Colt, was going to take Zaki at the $3, and hope for a bit of redemption there. But unfortunately, Zaki's been scratched. So, look, I was lucky enough to get Very Elegant at 8-1 last week, Professor. So, my opinion of the horse. I think she's in this race right up to her skin now, drawn out wide, a softish track. She will do me. I was going to leave Animo, the 3-year-olds, out of it because the 3-year-olds in the Cox Plate that have won seem to have been front runners, like Seamus Award led, Savabeel led, Octagonal was right there when it won as a 3-year-old. So, but Animo comes into this race with the 2 scratchings. Even if Craig Williams has it last, it's only going to be 3 lengths off the lead, Professor. So I thought Zaki might have stretched the field out a bit, but I can see it being, with only 8 horses, there's only going to be 3 or 4 lengths between first and last. So Animo comes right into it. Cap Devant may lead, but I'm just a bit worried that it may cut out on the inside. So, look, a horse that's won 9 Group 1 races, Professor. We've been on her everywhere, so let's stick with a Very Elegant.
Okay. And your second choice?
Look, sorry, second choice? Well, as I said, we'll go race 6, number 5, Elephant. We've been on this horse ever since it's come over from New Zealand. The trainers brought it over, hoping it would qualify for the Cox Plate. Just missed out. It's racing Cox Plate Day. I'm going to forgive its run in the Toorak Handicap 2 weeks ago, Professor, when it was a bit disappointing finishing 8th. Hopefully the horse can rebound back around Moonee Valley. So going Elephant and Very Elegant, both to be ridden by Damian Lane, who's in fine form at the moment. And as you well know, a bit of a fan of Damian Lane's, Professor. So hopefully he can have a big day on Cox Plate Day. But I will say to the viewers, a bit sceptical on this track and how it races with further rain predicted during the day. And we're doing these tips, some 5 or 6 hours before the races, Professor. So keep an eye on the rain and the way it affects the track and the pattern of racing.
Now, Gelding, it's currently showing $1.70 on the tote. I think that price surprises me. I thought it'd be starting over $2. The only reason for that, the Giraffe must have got the super out and put his money on it.
Well, yes, it's one of the. I suppose the Giraffe might have been in a bit of a tailspin with this race, whether to put 2/3 of the super on Elephant and 1/3 on Rhinoceros. So he might have had a crack at it. I was expecting, Professor, Friday it was $3. A couple of scratchings in Buffalo River. What else is out of the race? Buffalo River, Embolism, and Second Slip. So there's only 7 horses in it, but there's still some good horses in this race in the top 3. So I would have thought Elephant might have been round about the $2. So let's hope it drifts a bit during the day, Professor, because it just seems a bit short for me.
Well, clearly the key there is if you're going to have a bet on Elephant, I would suggest,
wait.
Well, either wait or take best of the totes.
Yeah. Might be the way to go,
Best
Professor.
of the best, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
And you like Professor?
All right, Gelding, I'm going to go early because I worry about the track. I liked a few runners in races 7, 8, 9 and 10, but I think that might be getting a little bit late in the day. Race 2, a horse that I've had my eye on, horse 10, Starry Legend. It's had 4 starts for 3 wins and a 4th. Win rate of 75%, place rate of 75%. The interesting thing here, Gelding, is it's unbeaten over 1,000 metres. The only time it's been out of the placings was in the showdown at Caulfield earlier this year when it lost to Finance Tycoon. Now that race was over 1,200 metres, and I went back and looked at the film of it, Gelding. At the 1,000 metre mark, Starry Legend is either a nose in front or level with Finance Tycoon at the 1,000. So that's great form in a 2-year-old race worth nearly $1 million, and it weakened over the last 200. So I think 1,000 metres is its distance. Second up, not worried about that. It's 1 for 1 second up. So, and $2.70 is a pretty good price, I believe.
Professor, I think it's a great bet. Finance Tycoon ran 4th in the Blue Diamond, 1,200. So, to Animo, which ran 2nd. So, Toria's won it. These horses have all been Group 1 before. It's a Zusar.
Yes.
I know you like a Zusar, Professor. And fancy having a horse that's had 4 starts and won almost 300,000.
Yeah, we'd like a horse like that, wouldn't we, Gelding?
Nothing wrong with its form. To be ridden by Mickey D, who knows it well. I think just a very, very good selection, Professor.
Yeah. My second selection, Gelding, race 5. Another horse I've been following and I've black booked, horse 7, Maracana. This is a Group 2 race over 1,600 metres. Can't fault its form. It's 2 starts, 2 wins. So 100% the win in the place. What I like about it is Reddy Preble's in the saddle. His win rating after last night is up to 20% over his last 50 rides.
He's in form, isn't he?
Well, and how many of those are Group 1s and how many of those are due to Jockey Gate?
Yes. Yes. I'm sure they've got the calculator out down there in Mornington just counting the money they've missed.
Tell me this, Gelding. Don't worry about the people who've missed money. You're 44 years of age, right? Brett Preble's 44. 44 years of age. When was this ever going to happen for him?
Well, he was working his way up, but he's taken the most of the opportunity. He's a bloke who may not have needed the money because he made a lot of money out of Hong Kong racing, Professor. So, he had a good 10-year period in Hong Kong where he was one of the leading jockeys there. So, and of course, lost a lot of rights to Joe Moreira and Zach Burton. He's come back here, and you had Jamie Carr, Mark Zara, Ben Mellum, and their names aren't in the race books at the moment. So Brett Pebbles' name's up there and shining. Well,
it's icing on the cake, isn't it, Gelding?
I'd call the prize money from Group 1s more than icing on the cake, Professor. And $1 million races, you're getting $32,500 as your jockey fee, pre any slings if they happen these days. But and then the Caulfield Cup would have been 130,000. So I think he's having a very good spring, Professor.
Is a sling tax deductible, Gelding?
Well, they normally come
hang
in.
On, is a sling taxable?
Well, I suppose only if declared, Professor.
All right, Gelding. Now, listen, before we get to the Professor's Parlay.
The very successful Professor's
Well, yes,
Parlay.
the very successful Professor's Parlay. Let me say that there was a tale of triumph and a tale of woe out of last week's show.
Go on.
The tale of woe, John from Canterbury.
John from Canterbury.
Yes,
AKA?
The judge.
Yes.
John from Canterbury was in a syndicate last week, and he implored the members of the syndicate to follow the Gelding and the Professor's tips. and the syndicate decided to go their own way. The judge's return last week was 0.
Why did we go through all the bother of? I talked to him on Thursday and Friday, sent him the tips on Saturday, was expecting a phone call or a brown paper bag Saturday night and got nothing.
Well, in fairness, Gelding, it wasn't his fault. He wasn't the person making the eventual decision, but just shows you the people who did make the eventual decision got it wrong, I think.
Well, this is a judge putting money. This is a judge putting money out there and letting other people decide.
Yes.
Jeez. Can I rate his wallet?
The other one was listen, first time viewer last week, Chris from Kew. Let me say, did he pick a very good day to watch the show for the first time? As I understand it, and Leanne from Flemington advised me that Chris had a very good day on the punt. So well done, Chris. You obviously get high marks. John from Canterbury, not so much.
Very good for Chris to come up with some winners, and hopefully, Professor, he listened to yesterday's show and is alive in another, and he would be alive in another Professor's parlay, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. He would. Now, one thing I've got to say, one of our other viewers, Gelding, David from Mordialloc, geez, he's been up and about recently, hasn't he, on the text?
Oh, mate, he's
an excitable young lad.
Oh, I think he's having a fairly good run at the moment, Professor. You know, I did notice a couple of Chinese restaurants are now open. So the phone, I'll be looking forward to some texts on the phone in relation
about meeting for Chinese lunch.
Well, you would think there would be some reward for us, wouldn't there, Professor?
Oh, look, people watching us is its own reward, Gelding.
Jesus, I'm
easily
I've got the trembling lip on that, Professor.
All right, let's look at the very successful Professor's parlay. Now, last week's got up, Gelding.
At the juicy odds of
$4.20 to 1.
Beautiful. And we're alive this week with the first leg of the horse leg up at what price, Professor?
Oh, Gelding, you that's a question.
A question without notice, Professor.
I'll come back to you with that, Gelding.
Yeah. And this week?
Well, this week we're going to take your selection, race 6, horse 5. We've agreed that's the agreed bet of the day, Elephant.
Oh, that'll certainly suit the giraffe.
That's currently showing $1.70, Gelding. And let's parlay that into the Premier League. We'll go with last night's selections as well. Chelsea to beat Norwich. Chelsea sitting on top of the Premier League ladder, 6 wins from 8 starts. They've got 19 points and they've got a goal difference of plus 13, which is terrific. Norwich, stone motherless last in the Premier League. Haven't won a game, only had 2 draws. A goal difference, the worst in the league, of minus 14. So Chelsea playing at home at $1.18, Gelding. I don't think you can go past that. That's
fantastic, Professor.
And for the third leg, Gelding, let's go with my Green Bay Packers in the NFL to beat the Washington football team, because they're not the Washington, delete its previous, we won't refer to it, but they're the Washington football team. Green Bay, 5 wins from 6 starts, plus 8 points differential. Washington, only 2 wins from 6 starts, pretty disappointing season. Minus 50 points differential, Gelding, but what I've looked at is the points against.
Oh.
They've had 186 points scored against them in 6 games. So that's 31, average of 31 a game. If you're leaking 31 points in an NFL game, you're not going to win many games at all, and that's proven. They're 32 out of 32 teams for points against. So at $1.25, Gelding, I think that's pretty good value.
Oh, Roger's in fine form, Professor. He's come back and he's taken the Green Bay Packers somewhere this year, Professor.
Yeah.
You're going to be right up the pointy end, I think, again.
Well, he's too good not to be, Gelding.
Yeah.
The parlay currently showing 5 to 2. So little bit less than, but little fish are sweet, Gelding, and you'd like to be certain of 5-2 every time you placed a bet, wouldn't you?
I think you'd be like Chris. You'd be showing a nice little profit, wouldn't you?
Yes, you would, Gelding. Yes, you would. Unlike the judge, he would not be showing a profit at all. In fact, he's showing a loss at the moment.
Are they reinvesting this week, Professor?
Well, I don't know. That's something we can ask the judge on tomorrow's show.
Yes, and we can ask him about the omens. I don't know what the omen bets will be at 17 to 1, 34 to 1, and 70 to 1 tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'm going to leave those ones alone, Gelding.
Yes, but I'm sure we'll be told if a couple get up.
Oh, of course. Okay, we mentioned Sports Fan Radio, Gelding. On again tomorrow at midday, a non-lockdown Sports Fan Radio, which is great. And surprised, Gelding, that you'll be available. I would have thought that you'd be out for lunch. You and your good lady would be out enjoying being able to get out what to eat. What's happened there?
Well, with Dan putting the limits on numbers inside, Professor, because if you look at today, I don't think tomorrow's going to be a day to be outside eating and that. Some of the places we like are certainly limited in the number of people they get, Professor, so we're unable to get in to a few places that we're going to catch up with people. So we've kind of put it on hold for a week or two, Professor. Hopefully the limits will open up, when you can get more people inside and we can get out to some of our more popular places. But there may be a Chinese restaurant on Sunday night, Professor. We might kind of see whether we can get the late seating in a Chinese restaurant.
Oh, that's very nice.
We're both frequented, so
all right,
that's what we're looking at the moment.
So special.
Yes,
sorry,
and last night, Professor, I caught up with Morty Boy.
Yes.
He was listening to the show last Sunday and said it was fantastic.
Oh, that's good.
He really enjoyed the podcast last week and our special guests that were on. So, yes. So when I caught up with him last night, a little bit of reminiscing. I think we've cut the grand final into all the segments when they won and everything like that. So very much another proud Melbourne supporter.
It's good to be able to get
supporter, sorry, financial member.
Yeah, financial member. That's right. All right. Speaking of special guests, tomorrow's show, Gelding, Lisa Caddo, who's going to come on and talk about AFLW. She's instrumental in that area. I know I'm looking forward to talking to her with the AFLW season put back a month already, not December. It's now going to be January. So we can talk to her about that. We can talk to her about no women's head coaches in the AFLW and what she thinks about that. And I know that Sarah's really interested in asking her a few questions as well.
Why would you play it in January, February when you're going to get temperatures of 40 degrees, Professor?
You can't possibly have a clash with your own competition, can you, the AFL? So that's why, Gelding, that is why.
Simple answer, play it before.
And we're also after a long spell out in the paddock. Dan Buckley's back on tomorrow to talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs and the start of the NBA season. We can pose him a few questions about Ben Simmons and when's he ever going to get on the court, Gelding?
Sulky, Lala.
Yeah. Some of our sportsmen, and we talk about them on this show. A couple of tennis players, and now we've got a basketball player. Geez, they're not setting very good examples, are they, Gelding?
Well, Professor, again, that was a discussion for last night, and we've talked about it. These people are given golden opportunities. Sports have, Australian sporting things, tennis with Nick, basketball with Simmons. I've looked after them all during their years, and they're now the names. And look how they're representing us.
Yeah, look, we can go into that in a greater deep dive.
That's going to be a good one for tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be a good one to discuss with Dan. All right, Gelding, a huge day of racing today on Cox Plate Day, and no doubt we'll be texting during the day. But until next Saturday for That's Racing, it's good luck.
And good punting.